Hey, welcome back to Project Freelance. What's up, guys? My name is Kay Anagonio, and I'm your host here on this podcast all about freelancing. Every week, I bring you a different guest from a different industry to share their insights and their stories about how they got started as a freelancer, how they've built their career, and more. So before we get started with Aaron, I want to let you guys know that I actually have a book out called No Tracers, an Urban Explorer's Diary. And if you order a copy of it today, you will be entered to win a second copy to give to a friend. And you will also get 2 signed photo prints included with your book order. I worked really hard on this book and it is my baby. It is my passion project and I really want you to see it and read it. So if you guys are interested in really cool photography and amazing stories, check out No Tracers, an Urban Explorer's Diary. The links will be down in the description for you under pick up a copy of my book. And yeah, just head to the website and grab a copy and you'll be entered to win a second copy. If you guys like Project Freelance, at any time you can leave a rating and feedback. And if you leave feedback, I will also send you a signed photo print. So leave some feedback. It helps the podcast grow. It helps us find more people and it helps validate this podcast. So thank you to everyone who has left feedback. I truly appreciate it. It is truly helping this podcast out. All right, let's get into this episode with Aaron. Aaron, please introduce yourself and what it is that you do to the Project Freelance audience.
My name is Aaron Berkshire, and I am a content creator for traveling musicians.
Where did you get your start with content creation, with photography or videography? What was your start to all this?
So originally I was in bands, and I just pretty much she's my wife now, but she was my girlfriend, and she pretty much had a camera, and I pretty much just started taking pictures with her camera, and just started taking pictures of my friends and their bands with her camera, and it just one thing led to another really fast, and I kind of just I'm sure the story's gone around so many times, but just a band guy that's turned photographer, and I honestly fell in love with it so much. To where my love and kind of passion for photography was way heavily outgrowing my love for wanting to put money and being in a band and trying to be a rock star and all those dreams. And I just kind of, around 26, 27 years old, it seemed like way more of a reality for me to kind of build a career in. And that's pretty much that's it.
So tell me about the first live show that you ever shot, if you can remember it. I would love to hear about that first experience.
Yeah, I do remember. So it was a local concert where I'm from in Jacksonville, Florida. And it was a local concert with a bunch of local bands. I think it was at a venue called 1904 Music Hall in Jacksonville. And my band was playing and a couple other bands were playing, my friends of mine. And, straight up, just like my wife Carly, she brought her camera to the show, and like I asked her to take some pictures of my band and me because I never got any good pictures of myself, and just being like, hey, I want to take some pictures of my friends. Do you care? Can I do it? And and of course I knew nothing. I was shooting on auto and I was just pushing the button and having fun and pretending like I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know actually anything what I was doing whatsoever. And and that's the show, though. I don't remember what exact show, if it had a name or anything like that, but it was just a random little local show.
Gotcha. And when did you first get paid to start taking photos?
So I think just a couple months right after that first show, I think I convinced some local friends, some buddies in another smaller band, even just to shoot me even like $40, $40-$50 for a photo shoot. And, a couple of them were down to even take me on the road for a couple shows around Florida, where I'm from, and just kind of practice and kind of just do as much as I can for them and just learn it and practice. And on the side from watching YouTube videos, my wife teaching me things and just learning from other concert photographers. That's kind of the route that I was on at that point.
And who were some of the people that you were looking up to at the time to get your advice and your knowledge from?
Well, I think the first photographer in music that I really, really looked up to a lot before I knew who, all these people that are so amazing that I know about now. But there was this one dude who lived in Jacksonville for a while and used to come to the local shows. And he actually it was almost like I looked up to him so much when I was in bands, and his name was Jonathan Kemp, and he did some tours with a band called Fit for Your King and Silent Planet a long time ago, almost like five plus years ago. And he was touring, and he was just living that dream as a photographer, and I looked up to him a lot. Um, and also, when I started getting more into it, I found out who Bryce Hall was and Ray Duker. Shout out to those guys. I looked up to them a whole lot. And then I found out who Jar was, and we all know who Jar is. And he's just a slayer in the community of the music photography world. And I started looking up to his work a lot, and it just kind of trickled from there. Now I know, now there's like a million. I look up to them all.
Man, we're trying to get Jar on this podcast, but hopefully now we can do it now that
I hope he does
he's,
it.
stuck at home. He wants to do it. Like, we wanted to do it in person, but schedules got mixed up, so we couldn't make it happen. But, hopefully soon we'll get him on here. I would love to pick his brain. And he kind of like exploded out of nowhere for me. And I just like found him on social media one day, and I was like, dang, this guy's really got something going on.
I found out about him when he went on tour with Issues. The other bands he worked with before them, never knew. I know who Being as an Ocean is, but I didn't know he went out with them. I didn't know anything about him or anyone he worked with until he started working with Issues. And then I just fell in love with his content and the way he edited and how he does so much with so little, because he works on a camera that he inspired me to get, and I've got it and I've moved up way past it. And I'm on a camera that is, way more expensive than that camera. And he still just murders it on this little camera. You're a photographer, so it's a little Sony Alpha 6300. And it's just like the things that he does with that camera just blows my mind on a consistent basis. So shout out to him. He's a legend. Definitely inspiring for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about education. Do you have an educational background in photography or video work?
So my education in photography and video comes first and foremost from my wife originally. And then I found out about this guy who should be a college professor one day. And I hope he'll probably lean to it. But you're a photographer, so you might have heard of this person. But I've found out who this guy named Peter McKinnon was on YouTube. And he pretty much became my school. I've watched every video a million times, and he is almost like a professor, the way he teaches and comes across. And that's my school of photography. So shout out to the amazing Peter McKinnon for being my photography school.
Wow, that's amazing to hear that. And another person I would love to have on the podcast is Peter. I've reached out to him, and hopefully one day we can make that happen, because again, like you said,
he's super sick too. Yeah.
He is like a professor in the way he teaches, and I think he would kill it as an actual professor. So hopefully he does pursue something like that, or
he's still pretty young, he's young.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time he's 60, he'll be trying to like be a professor, but like have it on YouTube. That'd be fun to watch. Everything he does is super fun to watch.
Yep, yeah, it's very, very entertaining. He makes it fun to learn. He's like Bill Nye the Science Guy of cameras.
Yeah, wow, the Bill Nye the Science Guy of cameras. I love that. Yeah, I mean, him and a few other YouTubers, him the most, and like, Lightning more than everyone else. But like, YouTube has really become school. I don't have any kind of, I'm not afraid to say that I'm a high school dropout, and like, I'm not, I didn't grow up a super smart kid, but YouTube, if you want to learn anything, you can get on YouTube and learn it. And I would encourage anyone that.
And how long did it take for you to find your value and your worth when it comes to charging clients? Like, how long did it take you to find what you were going to charge?
I could say, I've been doing this about 4 years now, and I can honestly say 4 years until now. And it'll still change. I get asked that question actually pretty often, and I feel like that number and that value of what you really believe that you're worth, it's always change, and it's going to evaluate to where you are and what you've done and your resume and how much better, or maybe even how much money you've invested in your gear. Like 2 years ago, my value I thought was at something whatever, $50-$100 for live photos or something like that. But like now I barely even go to like local shows, and I'm more just so tour, and I tour for no less than a certain amount a week, or for touring. And like your value is always going to change, and that's how I feel.
And can you walk me through a day on tour with you? What do you do from start to finish? What does your day look like?
So I would say, just like anyone at home, wake up and just live life for a little bit and get right before you want to start. I mean, that's the best part about following your dreams and doing something that that you're happy doing is no day is really work. You're never really, what do they say? You never work a day in your life, right? I mean, for a tour, wake up, coffee, food, and get right to editing, scope out the venue or the surrounding area. And then when you're ready, just grab the camera and go. And that could be at any point in time for me. I mean, most of the time for me, it's before 2 p.m. But I always stay up super late editing when I'm on tour. So for me, I edit so late into the night that I will sleep in a little bit, or maybe I'll get up, for catering or breakfast or something like that and grab the camera and just get going for the day.
And what's it like going from a tour where you're in a van to a tour where you have catering?
Oh my gosh. It's really, can't be more grateful for the opportunities to be able to get that kind of things. Cause I've done a huge bus tour that had catering. And then after that tour gone and done a van tour where I was on a $10 a day McDonald's per diem with a band. So it feels really amazing to have those kind of opportunities, and caterings and all that stuff is nice. And, you soak it in when that you don't have to go worry about like where McDonald's is or Taco Bell or where the nearest vegetarian or vegan spot is if you're a guy in a band and have health or food restrictions. Catering is something that is, it definitely feels special to get that.
And can you talk a little bit about the mental health aspect of touring? Every night you are alone in your bunk, you're away from your wife, you've got a lot going on. It's a high stress job. Can you just talk a little bit about how you cope with that out on the road?
Yeah. Make sure you try to talk to your significant other every chance you get that it's really hard to like talk on the phone when you're around a bunch of people at one time and you want to so make sure you make time to take those walks and take little breaks and call your significant other. And I mean, if you're a single person, it's probably a little easier. I mean, you have family no matter what, whether it's a husband or wife or maybe your brothers or sister or kids, even maybe you don't, maybe you just have kids. Like family in general is the number one hardest part to, mentally being on the road. For me, I personally just enjoy my life a lot at home. I live in Orlando, Florida, home of magical dreams of Disney World, and I love being here with my wife, and we have a great time. It's like just our personal little tropical life, and I enjoy being at home, but I don't take for granted being on the road, and that's the career path that I chose and got myself to this point to where you just kind of for me, I'm out there every single day because I want to make that money, because I feel that I can't make that money at home. I personally feel that the most money I can make is doing the opportunity that I worked so hard to get to, which is, making good money out on the road with these bands. And I honestly do love it. I my wife more, but I absolutely do love, being on the road with musical bands. I love music. I used to say I love music more than anything until I met my wife, but now music second, with football.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the gear you're shooting on. What do you like to use when you're shooting?
I rock a Sony A7 III, and I have a side rig, which is a Sony A6500. My wife also rocks a couple of Canons. I personally love Canon photos, but I use Sony for photos because I'm just such a hybrid shooter at shows and I need the video capability. So I kind of make do, and Sony's come up a long way, and I've invested in some new lenses that have made my photos kind of step up another level, because you definitely have to invest in your lens and your glass. And it's almost 50% as crucial as whatever camera body you're using nowadays. And, but yeah, I mean, that's currently my two cameras.
And let's talk a little bit more about your YouTube channel. What are you doing on there? What do you want to do with it? And what kind of success are you seeing with that?
Zero success, because I've put next to nothing into it. For me, the hardest part is, for some reason, to be creative, to create a photo or a video of something else, it feels just so naturally to me. But like coming up with an idea for a YouTube video, is like the hardest thing for me to do. Can never come to a final decision on something that I want to talk about, or I don't feel I'm at the point where I should be teaching people that way in the videos. I've made a joke out of it. In all my videos, I always say, this is not a tutorial. This is just kind of how I do it. I'm not teaching you how to do it. I'm just showing you how I do it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, because there's so many different right ways that you could do things in these programs nowadays with technology, and so Peter McKinnon's a teacher. I don't consider myself a teacher, and I haven't got to that point. So for now, YouTube for me is just something that I would like to grow, but I really don't know what my niche is yet on YouTube. I want to talk about the music industry. I want to talk about coming up with smaller bands and advice. I also want to talk about photography and different forms of photography and video. That's kind of where I want to go with it, but I haven't had the time, but I probably will now, since all of us are going to be home for so long, like we were saying. So hopefully I can come up with some cool topics and jump on some videos.
Absolutely. So is there anything else that you shoot outside of music and weddings or is there anything you would like to shoot further?
Yeah. So, I almost shoot. I tell everyone I shoot everything, but I actually haven't got a chance to shoot everything, because there's something that I long to shoot, which is I want to shoot football one day. Another dream is to shoot professional football. I would love to shoot NFL football one day. I'm a huge diehard football fan, so taking it to the level of being on the field and shooting photography for football teams, even any NFL, college, high school, I would do any of it, honestly. Sports photography, I haven't really got to do that, and it's something that I really want to do. But mostly I love doing everything, from family photo shoots to weddings to concerts to just portraits, model, street photography. Like, I really honestly love everything, and I love all forms of photography. And, there's no reason to be only into like one thing,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a similar kind of creator, I'll create content for a corporate company or for a band or for a shoe, like whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm up for it,
Yeah, exactly. I love a challenge. So like, whatever you present my way, I'm going to do my best to be the best photographer I can for that situation.
What is it like to work with these bands that I'm sure look up to?
Oh man. Yeah, a lot of these, there's one person that I'll say, I used to look up to. I still do, 100%, and I will for a long time. Him, our good buddy Matty Mullins. I've always looked up to that guy when I was in bands and I was in the scene and playing shows in a band, and the fact that I've even got to be on the road with him and that band and I feel like genuinely he's become my friend, and I've always looked up to him. And that is, in these other bands, I look up to all of them. I always have. When I was a musician chasing that dream, I always looked up to these guys, and to get to work with them, it's nothing short of a dream come true. You stay humble every day and enjoy the opportunity that you work so hard to get to.
And can you talk about making yourself an asset while you're out on the road? I think that's something that's super important that we should talk about real quick.
Yeah. Man, work ethic speaks loud. The harder you work, the more passion you show about wanting to do the best you can for this band, no matter if it's create content or just clean up some trash or just help somebody out or hold a door or carry a piece of gear. The harder you work, the more of an asset you are to these crews and camps and these bands. And, it goes a long way. And then, they really, they put a lot of trust and faith, and eventually it'll give you an opportunity to make a career out of it. The more that goes with any job, you work hard, you're always going to be, an asset to any, company that you work for, no matter what.
And have you ever been screwed over on any jobs before?
Not yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah, seriously. Good for you, man.
That would suck.
Yeah,
thank you.
It does suck.
I think a couple local things I've been screwed on. A couple local bands that I tried to help out, and they were just kind of ungrateful, and I've gotten screwed in certain ways from local bands, but not from any professional, actual national touring bands that I, appreciate or look up to. I haven't been actually screwed over by, let's say, anybody of any significance. I haven't been screwed over.
That's awesome, man. And what questions do you have as a freelancer? I would love to hear like what you want to know about, and maybe either I can answer your questions or I can ask the next guest on the podcast to answer that question for you.
How do you make money at home if you are mainly a touring music photographer or content creator, and how any tips to always better your brand of yourself? I'm always looking for those tips. I look for them on YouTube all the time. I'm always trying to I'm sure much like you, which I respect and love how much you brand yourself. You've probably noticed that I use my initials a lot, and I'm really into branding. And like, like we talked about Jar earlier, I think he's the branding king. He is like absolutely king on branding himself. And I love people who want to better brand themselves, as a business and as an image. So, and let's see, if for future content creators questions, I'd have to think about that. I have to think about questions off the top of my dome, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. And my last question for you is, what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
Oh man, shut up. Just stop talking and have patience.
Great answer. No, seriously, I think a lot of us need to slow down and
Listen.
listen more.
Yep. Yep. Slow down, listen. Uh, don't overwhelm the people that you work for and around. Even if you're excited, just relax and think about what you're going to say before you say it, and really just, be patient and have, a calm sense about you. And it's going to go a long way.
Amazing.
And I've learned that. I've had to learn that the hard way. And the more I push myself to, relax and slow down, and the better my work's gotten, and the more I've made better friendships.
Hey, that's awesome, man. And thank you so much for that advice. If people want to hire you, find you, or pick your brain, how can they do that? Where can they find you online?
I just tell everyone to go to my Instagram, and it's at Aaron Berkshire Official. Aaron Berkshire Photography on Facebook, or just email me at aaronberkshirePhotos@gmail.com. Or just, find my phone number, email me, whatever you want. I'm always open to talk to anyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on Project Freelance. I enjoyed talking to you, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we'll do like a 1 year checkup and see where you're at, and if
Yeah,
you've
we'll
gotten
follow
to
up.
do these tours, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely know that, tours are coming. We just got to wait, to you and everyone who listens to this, stay safe, and like everyone just kind of help each other out and support each other, trying to get over this madness that the world is going through right now.
All right, guys, that was my episode with Aaron Berkshire. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Aaron. I had a blast talking to you and catching up with you, honestly. I love getting to know these people that I want to work with, and so this is a great way to do that. And now that we all have a bunch of free time, I think now is the best time to have people on the podcast that I've wanted to chat with. So again, thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on to the podcast and sharing your insight and your story with my audience. I definitely appreciate it. If you guys like this episode of Project Freelance, please do me a huge favor and leave a rating and some feedback. And like I said at the beginning, if you leave feedback, I will actually send you a signed photo print for your wall, your locker, your classroom, or wherever you hang your art. Thank you guys again for listening to this episode of Project Freelance. I will talk to you next Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out, or stay inside right now and go create something.